Aaron, we're talking contingencies and cost escalation and the over under.
The level section. We got to the variance AV versus DV, basically.
Yeah, the main is the adopted budget.
I mean, I think the thing we want to say to them is that in a normal condition, we'd be talking about reducing some of that project. But in this situation, there's so many unknowns. It doesn't make sense to.
Thank you. Okay, I'm going to call to order the Garrison Board of Education regular meeting for September 16th, 2020, which is conducted in person and via Zoom for everyone at home. So welcome, everyone. Go ahead and do the roll call. Jesse, do you need me to do the roll call?
Yeah, and if you can hold that a little closer.
Is that better?
Yeah.
Okay. And Jocelyn Apicella? Here. David Gelber is excused. James Hope?
Here.
Madeline Julian? Here. Courtney McCarthy?
Here.
Thank you. Matthew Spicer?
Here.
Thank you. And I am here as well. I will now lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Okay. Next up, we have agenda changes. I would like to suggest that we amend the agenda, like a motion to amend the agenda to move the, under personnel items, item B on the consent agenda, administrative appointment of our new principal up to right after the president's remarks. Did I do that okay, Dusty? May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Thank you. I'm going to do a roll call vote. Jocelyn Apicella? Aye. James Hope?
Aye.
Madeline Julian? Aye. Courtney McCarthy?
Aye.
Matthew Spicer?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Okay, then the next item. Oh, now with that amendment, do I need to read the other part or be it resolved in the, or is that good?
Nope, you're good.
Okay, thank you, Dusty. So now it's President's remarks. I'm going to be very brief and just say thank you again to the parents, to our community, to our teachers, our staff. We have been running now. We've been open since September 2nd with students in the building and participating at home on the iTutor remote option. I want to thank everyone for their patience as we've learned all the new procedures. I want to thank our staff, especially for their teamwork in making that work every day. It's just amazing. And for parents who have questions, please get in touch. If you have thoughts, we want to hear from you. And I've just been so pleased to have this school open. So now we're going to move to, that's all I've got, because I know everyone's super excited for the next thing on this agenda, our new principal. So Carl, would you like to introduce?
Of course.
Oh, do I need to do the motion first, Dusty?
Might as well, yeah.
Okay. All right. So I'm going to read the recommended action. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of Carl L. Albano, Superintendent, does hereby appoint Allison Amin to a 3-year probationary appointment as principal in the tenure area of principal, commencing on November 2nd, 2020 and ending November 1st, 2023, according to the terms and conditions of employment agreement dated September 16, 2020, and hereby authorizes the board president and superintendent to execute said agreement. And Carl, would you like to offer an introduction?
Sure. Let me begin, though, just by thanking the board
for supporting bringing in the search consultant firm district-wise. They worked with us for the past 6 weeks. And this search for the next Garrison principal was a very thorough and rigorous process. We had well over 100 applicants from all over the region. And they went through many phases of interviews and a vetting process, which culminated with a committee interview, which had 13 community members. It was a very inclusive process. We had parents, we had board members, we had our staff, we had support staff, administration. And through that process, there was one candidate who emerged as the clear first choice from everyone's input, and also comes to us with outstanding references. People reached out unsolicited to give us a recommendation for a candidacy. But Mrs. Allison Mig is here with her family, but I'd love to give everyone a biography, and we're going to do a press release after this meeting. But let me just say that Allison comes to Garrison with 20 years of teaching and educational leadership experience. She holds her permanent certifications in K-6, Gen Ed, and K-12 special education, as well as her school building and district certifications. She attended Mount St. Mary College, where she earned her Bachelor's of Science in Education with a concentration in special ed. She went on to receive her master's degree in special education from the College of New Rochelle and her leadership diploma from Manhattanville. Mrs. Amig began her career in Katona-Lewisboro. She was there for 15 years, and she taught nearly at every grade level, elementary and middle. So, of course, Garrison is a K-8 district, so her teaching experience was really a perfect match. From there, she went on to work at BOCES, Southern Westchester BOCES, as a principal, and she did some amazing work. She took a program and expanded it almost threefold as far as student enrollment. One of your references said Mrs. Amig is a turnaround administrator, a turnaround leader, and she did some great work there as well. Mrs. Amig believes that schools should be a place where relationships are fostered, confidence is nurtured, and inclusiveness is felt by all. Her notable accomplishments as a principal have centered around creating successful educational programs to fulfill students' needs across the region. During these uncertain times with the global pandemic, Mrs. Amig led her organization through a transition from in-person to remote virtual instruction back in the spring. And she has also facilitated the recent transition back to school with a focus on supporting students, families, and teachers. She's here with her family, and it was a pleasure to meet all of them. She's married to her husband, Mark, for over 23 years. I'll give some of the personal background. Mark is at IBM. And together they have two wonderful children. Mia, who came all the way back from Boston to be here. That is impressive. She's sophomore at Boston College. And their son, Jake, who is at John Jay High School. We did a little catching up because I started my admin career there, so we have something in common. But it's a pleasure to have all of you here this evening to watch your mother receive this honor and be appointed. And we are thrilled to have her come on board here in Garrison and join us as the next leader of the school. So I very confidently recommend Mrs. Amig to the Board of Education. And we're very excited to have her begin working. We'll start transitioning in October. The official start date will be November 2nd. So I think maybe we'll put it to a vote, and then maybe we can invite Allison Amig up to say a few words.
That sounds like a great plan. Go ahead and.
Do we need a motion?
I need the motion.
So moved.
Second. Got that?
Got it.
Okay, thank you.
Who seconded? I'm sorry. Thank you, Madeline.
Jocelyn Apatola? James Hill?
Aye.
Madeline Julian? Courtney McCarthy?
Aye.
Matthew Spicer?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. And a huge welcome, and give her a microphone.
Yes, Allison, we have,
Come on up.
please, if you would say a few words.
it'll pick you up, yeah.
I'll face you, not you. Okay, and my family, and my wonderful family. So I just first want to say that I am just blessed and honored to be here today. I am just so thankful for my family. So I couldn't be here if it wasn't for my husband in particular, because he's my number one champion, my cheerleader. For over 23 years, we've been together for a long time, almost 30 years. So I met him when I was in high school, and I have two magnificent kids right here who my daughter just would not miss this. She just went back to school and was home for the pandemic and has been home for 6 months and couldn't wait to go back to school. And she couldn't wait to come back home. She's only been there for 2 weeks, but she had to come home to celebrate this important day for me. And that to me is just like, Mia, you see, like, you can fulfill your dreams. This is a dream of mine. So you can do anything. And okay, so in Jiu-Jitsu, you can do anything. So I know that you're proud of me, and I'm just so excited that you took the time out of your schedule, both of you and my husband, to come here to support me. I'm getting choked up. This is a big deal for me. I just want to thank, oh boy, there's so many people to thank in this process, and it does start with Bob and Joanne, who are from the firm. And Bob and Joanne, when they met with me, it was a quick 30-minute conversation that was like an hour long. We just got into just talking about, you know, the philosophies of education, and it was just felt so natural, and there was an instant connection. And I'm thankful that they saw and recognized some qualities in me that led me to meet Carl. And when I met Carl, I felt that same connection. I felt like he and I definitely shared the same values when it came to what's right for students, what's right for kids, what's right for teachers, and the community and our families. So I instantly also felt that connection with Carl. And I was, all right, I'm getting one step closer to this. Like, this is unbelievable. The committee was so rigorous. I agree with you, Carl, when we went through that rigorous committee process. I was so impressed by the teachers. The teachers were so thoughtful and engaged me in such ways that made me think and, you know, provoke really good conversation in that interview process. So it was really a challenge, and it really also solidified my reasoning and my desire and my drive to want to be here. So I just pushed hard through that process and then made it here. But when I met with the board yesterday, again, it just also solidified my decision making and that this was the right place for me. So I'm again very grateful and thankful to have the opportunity to delve into what I know some of your important values and initiatives and what they are, and I want to learn that. And I'm excited about the anti-racism committee and equity and diversity and all of the environmental education initiatives that you'd like to explore. And I'm excited to learn about that and just like get right in there. I know that there's a coherence plan that we're working on, and that, you know, we really want to focus on student outcomes and how are we going to, you know, push the kids and get them to a place that we know that they can be and tap into their potential. So I'm super excited about that work. Doing work with the teachers, the curriculum work, and the alignment to the next gen standards. These are all such important things that I, again, am thrilled to be a part of. So I know that there's a lot more work and things that I'm going to be involved in. The most important thing that I'm excited about is getting to know the kids. So they are the joy in my heart. I cannot wait to get my hands on them after the pandemic. I will social distance, but I can't wait to just see the kids and embrace them in ways that, you know, will support them. I will take care of them. I will love them. You can trust me with them, the teachers too, the community, the families. I'm going to be here for you every step of the way through this incredibly challenging time. And I'm going through it with my own family. I'm going through it also with my school at BOCES. And I feel it from every angle, and I understand. So I'm here, even though I'm starting November 2nd,
I'm here. I'm going to be working alongside Carl and learn and be already in partnership with Carl. I am thrilled to be a part of this team and this community. So I thank you so much. Teachers, if you're out there watching, I'm so excited to get to meet everybody, all of the support staff, everybody who makes this place great. I can't wait to be a part of the community. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. I really feel your excitement, and it's just wonderful. I'm so happy for the children of this district to have you as our building leader. We did move you up. You're welcome to stay for the entire meeting. These meetings are so fun and interesting. And I do mean that, they're laughing at me, but you'll get to know me soon. I do love them. If you did want to go out and celebrate with your family, we entirely understand that as well. So I'll just talk about that.
You don't need to feel an obligation to stay, you know.
I think I'm going to take my family now.
Yeah.
Well, but again, thank you so much for the opportunity.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you for being here.
Pleasure meeting all of you.
It was
Congratulations.
so wonderful. Come visit us again.
Yes, of course. This is our new home.
You're welcome here anytime. Thank you.
Drive safe.
Okay. So we are now, please, I don't think I need to do this, but we're now going to move on to board communications and presentations. And tonight we have a capital project update from Tetra Tech Architects and Calgy Construction. They're here with us tonight. Thank you so much for being here. I'm going to turn this over to you guys. I believe that's your right in front of you.
So I want to, first of all, I'm Garrett Hamlin. I see some new faces. And I'm the principal architect for Tetra Tech Architects and Engineers. And I got to say, I'm really excited to be here tonight. We have been in strange times over the last months. And so to be here in person to present to you with Calgy tonight is really great. I will say that we, in spite of a pandemic, we are still right on schedule from a design standpoint. So really happy to be able to say that. We haven't skipped a beat, really. I'll speak for Tetra Tech for just a moment. We went to remote practice, our business, at the very beginning right away. We haven't laid anybody off. Really proud of that. And our business is stable. So I thought that would be important to tell you since we're working on a long-term project together. We are at a point in the design process called, we've completed design development. So design is usually broken up into our architect language of 3 phases: schematic design, design development, and construction documents. So we have finished the first 2/3 of that process. The beginning of it was very intense. We had a lot of meetings with district stakeholders, teachers, the whole 9 yards, and a good portion of that was done remotely. So we were doing sort of virtual design meetings, which was a challenge and very interesting, but I think we were successful and quite productive. So that worked out well. So tonight, what we want to do is give you an update on the budget, the estimate that reflects the design development documents. And so at each third of the design process, the construction manager will do estimates. So they did an estimate at schematic design, they completed an estimate at design development. David Chen's going to speak with you tonight about that estimate. I believe that everyone has a copy of it on their desk, and Courtney and Matthew, I think those, that was also distributed to you as well. It's the July 30th document. It's about 50 to 50, something like 50 pages. Without further ado, David, you want to speak a little bit about the estimate?
Okay,
Thank you for having us tonight. We did a schematic budget back in April of this year, April 27th to be exact, and July 30th, we finished up our design development budget. And I'd like to ask everybody to turn to the page that is after section D, that give everybody the breakdown in terms of program scope work. This page pretty much mimicked the original adopted budget breakdown that Tetra Tech was able to present and got approval from all your from the community. Anyway, we have pressure on the first item, roof replacement. Original budget of 140,000, and now we at DD budget we are at 15,000. So we're 75,000 over the original adopted budget. So there's a pressure there, and also the biggest number that we see the upswing in terms of numbers is the item number 4 for floor replacement. From the original budget of 385,000 to now that we have budgeted 782,000. One thing that's driving up the price had to do with the existing floor that is tested to become asbestos contained material. In the SD budget, we don't have that report, so we know that asbestos is present in the school, and but we don't have a tab on it. So anyway, we allow some of the price in the SD budget, but in the DD budget, we receive detailed report on the current material in terms of flooring, where they are asbestos. So this takes into account the removal of all the asbestos, and and sometimes there's multiple layers. So that's all in the report. Tells you which layer is asbestos and which layer is not. Anyway, but in order to make a claim, all layers have to be treated as asbestos waste. They cannot be separated in terms of removal, because you would be pulling your hair out, trying to separate it in a different layer. Anyway, so there's a pressure there in terms of flooring replacement. So in various areas, we have pressure in terms of library renovation. We have the art room reconstruction that we see some number that is up. And the overall budget compared to your adopted budget, to the DD budget, we are over by 740,000. That means the original budget of 9.9 now is sitting at 10.65. We believe right now at this point in time, we should think about alternate to be bid out during the bidding phase in order to protect the project in a way that we have a menu of items that we can pick and choose in terms of can we afford it, or we have to stay back and push that work some other time in order to salvage this project itself in terms of getting the majority of this program done in the coming year, summer of 21, and also continue the school year of 2021, 2022, and then finish the work in summer of 2022. that's the construction schedule in the big picture. Obviously, there's details that need to be worked out in terms of working in the school during school year. When kids are in the section, class are in the section, and all that. So anyway, we have a couple of ideas in terms of where we think that we should be able to carve out some work and put it aside as an alternate. Or I don't think that you could that much of there's a debate between add alternate or lead alternate. So I think add alternate give you the best option. The lead alternate, you never get the credit back if you put the work in your base bid and the contractor is trying to figure out how much I'm going to give you back if I don't do that piece of work. So I think the thinking in construction, the contractor want to hold on to as much as they can. So when you do a lead alternate, they tend to not to give you 100% back, versus the other way around. You actually see the cost in terms of how much to add to the contract. Okay, so anyway, that's debatable, but that's my my understanding of alternates. But I will turn the mic over to Eric, and in terms of which part of the project that he's thinking of carving out for alternate. Because he put the program together, so I don't want to start cutting the job because I don't know what was in the original program that was kind of promised to the community and to the group.
So first of all, does anyone have questions?
Are the alternates here, or that you're going to suggest because of the 750,000? So it's just giving us options, even though we might want to continue forward with the original plan, even the increase.
Yes.
So no matter what in any construction bid project, we would recommend adding alternates from the bid contingency. But in this situation, we need them. In this situation, we need them in order to make sure that we're able to award this project, because we know from the estimate that we've received that we believe we're over budget. I want to back up and just talk a minute about what alternates are, so that everyone has the same sort of basis of understanding. So we could put all the scope on a set of drawings and have a contractor give us one price. And instead of doing that, what we'll do is we'll carve out sections of that scope and we'll ask for separate prices. It's kind of a base bid, if you will, and then some a la carte options where you can pick those options. And if we did real well on midday, then you could award the base bid and all of the alternates. That probably won't happen realistically, Ms. Fleming.
To clarify, for the bids, we have an obligation to go with the lowest responsible bidder
Correct.
in all of these departments.
Mhm.
So we
Yeah.
will be selecting or choosing based on the company or contract or anything. It's going to be set for us.
It's going to be the number, yeah. And actually with alternates, you can see the apparent low bidder switch, because you might have one company who sees the base bid is one price and then certain alternates as other prices. And so if you award alternates, in some situations, you could see that like a prime contractor who's low become a different prime contractor based on which options you choose, because they're not all going to have the same prices for their alternates. Okay, so in some situations in projects, and look, I have a lot of school project experience, you come to a DD estimate that's over, and we'd be recommending to a client some scope needs to be reduced, and we would make decisions at that point not to proceed with the design of those particular scope items because they're over budget. In this situation, we don't feel that that makes sense. It's more work for us, but we're fine with that because there are variables that are completely out of our control. And so if you look at the bottom of estimate, you'll see contingencies, 5% and 10%, and then a 10% cost escalation. So in total, we would want to save 10% for construction contingency. So we have approximately $1 million that we're holding right at this point because of all these unknowns. We don't know what the bid market's going to be. And so with that in mind, the sentiment is this isn't a moment to be cutting scope, but it is a moment to be deciding what are going to be bid alternates. Because on bid day, we want to make sure that the project's affordable. This is a little complex. I want you to stop and ask, are there any questions? Am I making sense, or have I completely confused everyone?
When is bid day?
So bid day, we're anticipating to be in March.
February, preferable, but all depends on SED review of the project itself. It seems like they are able to, I guess, you have more insight in terms of SED review process. They seem to get that.
Yeah, they are much faster at this point.
Before we were waiting.
Yeah, we were waiting up to 52 weeks for SED to approve projects and be able to go out to bid. In this situation, we're going to be submitting the plans and specifications, the project to SED at the end of November. We're on schedule. We're anticipating it's going to take them a couple months to get it. So we'll be out to bid as soon as they get it.
I do have a question before you
Sure.
start the add-ons in it. And it's more specific to the estimate and the why the delta, right? So there's $740,000 in delta, and most of it is due to the flooring, which you brought up and mentioned.
Yes.
And then there was some hazmat that was not included in SD. Is there
It's not included in the adopted budget.
in the approved budget?
It is in the approved budget. SD budget, we have allowed that already. Because SD budget in the line item number 4, we are 735,000. So that's 350,000 above the original adopted budget.
Yes.
So, and then we move on to DD, then we have more above and beyond the budget. But you can see last column on that sheet, make the comparison between SD and DD. For line item number 4, we up to 46,000. So,
Yes. So my question is, aside from the hazmat, what really, because that's more than 2 times the original budget, approved budget. Just for this one line item, this is the one line item that is really over by 782 from the original budget. Aside from the hazmat, which is 130 something, I think, in the backup, what else increased? Is it the unit cost? Is it
I believe,
the size?
Garrison can answer that better than
So it's a material change from what we had anticipated in the pre-referendum to what we're recommending at this point for the material. So the flooring that we were looking at in the pre-ref, if you go back and look at the documents, it was a little only floor. And after meeting with the district and carefully considering what material option, we are recommending an LVL tile. So luxury vinyl tiles for that name because it's not luxury, it's just it's a very good product, it's very durable, and one of the biggest benefits is very low maintenance. So oftentimes in schools we'll see vinyl composite tile, VCT, the 12 by 12 material, it's relatively expensive. But the problem with that is it requires regular maintenance, regular waxing. And so the effort that the district would need to expend using that product it's not possible, basically. So the goal here is to move the district to the LVL tile from a maintenance standpoint and a durability standpoint. And the feeling is that it's better to achieve sections of the floor if we had to and do the right job as opposed to doing sort of a lesser quality job across the whole school. Does that make sense?
Yes, that makes sense. So then what was the increase? So then it's the cost of the material because the material changed. So what was the?
Because of the material is one thing. The cost of labor for this material is another thing. And the preparation for this material to go down to existing floor is another cost. Is more preparation needed for this new type of material because the manufacturer has specific installation requirement that they put out in order for any end user to get the warranty from the manufacturer for this material. You have to follow this instruction in terms of how this material gets put down. And that requirement from the manufacturer for this material is also adding the cost to the project itself. It also snowballed a little bit in terms of your removal process for the thing. Normally you remove floor tile as asbestos and the mastic that is asbestos. You scrape them and you as much as you can, then your new material goes on top. This material, because the nature of that requirement from the manufacturer, required that we have to remove and make sure that 100% of the mastic, the existing mastic that blew down the tile gets removed and cleaned. They want a fresh floor. In order to achieve that, we have to do a self-leveling, like a seal. Pretty much seal off that layer of mastic that is not possible to take off. So that layer of self-leveling, actually it gives you a better floor because that layer, that gives you a fresh start for this material to be adhered to. Instead of going down on existing mastic that could be problematic, is not compatible with the new mastic or adhesive that is recommended for this new product. So they may be a problem. And also, I think the other requirement that they are very strict on is the moisture content. The moisture content of the floor. If your floor is slab on grade, because it's built, some time ago, we are not 100% sure if your moisture protection is still 100%. So if you have moisture that is trapped between this new material and your floor, the new material that you put down is going to lift itself up because of the moisture. So that's whole thing is a system, and Gary, that's how much I understand.
No, you did a great job explaining. So it's self-leveling compound and moisture mitigation, just to sum it up. I know we're super technical here. Does anybody want to repeat it back to me?
Okay. I think in summary, by the way, thank you for the estimate. I did get to review it in detail, and it was really well put together in the drawings.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of detail that I don't think we're going to resolve in a meeting like this, but we can work on it in the committee.
Yeah.
But something to keep in mind also when you're looking at the ultimate is that vinyl is not as sustainable as other materials like rubber or linoleum. So we're looking at the quality and the long-term or cleanability of the floor and the different alternates to also think about the sustainability part. And for the moisture content in the existing slab, that's something that is always a problem for owners, so it would be great to, when comparing these to see the warranty level, and to put the owner to maybe the trade that's going to be installing it, if they need additional moisture testing. So if something goes wrong, we go back to one company, right?
Yeah.
But the details we can talk in the committee.
And we have very strict protocols in the spec to handle those kinds of things. So yes, let's continue to talk about
I
details.
just want to check because we have our 2 remote board members and Courtney and Matt, do you have any questions?
Courtney, Matt?
Are you guys still with us?
Still with you.
No questions? Yes?
We're here, we're good.
Okay.
That was really loud.
Yeah, sorry. I just want to make sure, I will try and check in with you every so often or shout out if you do have a question. So I want to make sure, I know Matt is on our facilities committee as well and get involved in this process. Yes, is that you? You good?
So just
No, again, you know, I think the question is the upcharge worth the product? Like in the end, you know, we're doing a lot of labor to get a floor that, do you feel confident that the savings in the maintenance is worth the investment?
Oh, absolutely, yeah. And look, I don't have a stake in this game. If you said to me, do vinyl tile to close the gap, I'd proceed without hesitation. But in the long run, from our experience, this product will serve you better. And there are a number of products out there, so I'm not repping a manufacturer here. It's definitely the way to go. And most schools who are in a flooring replacement situation are moving to this if they can afford it. That's across the board.
Did you say this already, the estimated like lifespan of this LV tile?
LVL, yeah. I'm sure that my designer would be able to answer that question off the top of his head. I don't know that off the top of my head. I can get the answer for you, okay?
For the facilities committee, when you go back to it.
Absolutely, yep. The one thing I do want to sort of come back to is the alternate. So we are having some recommendation on what alternates to include in this package. We'll work through the committee process, but I want to say it here tonight so that when I'm back saying it again, I'm surprised by it. So we already have middle school lighting as an alternate. It's a separate phrase down at the bottom. Play area enhancements could be an alternate. Areas of flooring could be alternates. The art room itself could be an alternate. That's going to be a hard pill to swallow. I totally understand that. But if it's a point in a bid day that's a crazy market and it's either continue with the project or have to consider that, I'd rather do that in advance than jeopardize the bids, have to go out to bid again. So that's an alternate that we can certainly discuss more. And then roofing. Since we know the roofing price is above our original budget, there are some other options for how we could do a roof on that one portion of the building. So that's the other one I wanted to pose. Did I get the list? Is there anything else? Okay. Yeah.
I have one finance question then, because I mean, the art room is part of the innovation piece of this.
Yeah.
And, I would be sad to see us sacrifice some of the innovation that we try to put into this, that's already been sort of cut back to do the roof and the floors. I'm not, I haven't been through bid day or any of that. I don't know how that works, but can we provide the money? Do you have to stay under the approved number that the taxpayers said? You have to come in no matter what under that, even if the district had funds to cover it. Okay.
So total overall, you are capped by that amount. I don't remember it off the top of my head.
9.9.
But here's the thing, Sarah, that I'll say is on bid day, we're going to recommend an award that sets aside a construction contingency of 10%. Okay? If you only spent half of that construction contingency during the course of the project, once we get through all the surprises and unknowns and those kinds of things, there might be money left at the end of the project. then you could add these other things back in. So flooring's a really good example of that. If there were an area of flooring that you couldn't award the alternate at the outset, if there's money left at the end because contingency's held out, you could either award that alternate, there's some technical component to that, or you could rebid that as an, to get it back in the project. So this is it's a sort of progressive thing, and it's not done until the last dollar is spent.
So carving out alternate is a due diligence process that you do in case the project overrun is greater than the contingency.
Right.
Got it. All right.
Okay.
What's the bid environment right now?
I'll give you my sense of it, but it's really a construction manager answer. It's crazy. There's a lot of volatility out there. So you guys,
We agree, we agree because, locally, before the pandemic started, we see labor shortage in construction because everybody's looking in the city. And in the outskirts of the city, we see, very tight labor market. And then the pandemic, everybody's uncertain in terms of are we able to work, what kind of safety, procedure that we have to follow, this and that. So it makes a lot of people kind of just lay off their workers. And to bring skilled labor back is very hard, once you lay them off. Then the other aspect in terms of looking towards the future is that because of this shift in terms of labor, and also a lot of the material is coming from everywhere. Nobody has any storage in the backyard to store any of this material that is needed for construction anymore. So there may be a timing issue in terms of getting the material that you need for the project, for the time that you need it. Not so much, it's all related to, if the manufacturer can produce the material and if they can find people to ship it to you, to bring it to you. Because that whole logistic, moving things from one end of the world to another become a science now. And we just don't know. We have our concern regarding that. Not to paint this great picture for you, but that's our concern.
Yeah. The one thing I would add to that, though, is that contractors want to work. We see that again and again. Even in the pauses or the stops, everybody was itching to get back to work. There are some situations where laborers are not going to work, but in general, the companies make money when they work and they want to work. So the other thing I'll add is that it was mayhem in April of this year. Contractors were completely thrown off. Were we having to sanitize construction sites every day? What do you do if somebody has COVID? We were asking and answering those questions on the fly. Now we've got a better understanding of it. There's still a lot of unknowns and there are going to be surprises, but at least contractors now can understand, all right, it's generally this, it's, this, so there's some kind of stability even in a pandemic that's happening. What's it going to be like in February or March? Don't know.
I have a question on the pandemic side. So the drawings were done during the summer when everything was happening. We have now more detailed information, especially when it comes on the engineering side and what should be done with the pandemic.
Oh, yeah.
In terms of the rules. I did see that we do have the nurses room, nurse's office as part of the scope.
Yes.
And given that that's where all of the initial assessment happened, if you take a look back at the air handling units or the HVAC, the mechanical filters, outside air intake, and they recommendations if we need to make changes to that
Yes,
design going forward.
Now, I'm really appreciative that you mentioned that. I meant to say that earlier. So one of the things that we're doing during the design process right at this moment is reevaluating things based on Merge 13 filters and all the general recommendations that are coming out now. And
It's now number 15.
yeah, well, right, exactly. You know, if you can get to Merge 15,
Yeah.
I totally understand that. So we're evaluating that and we will make recommendations because it's important and it's a great opportunity. Most districts wish they were changing their HVAC system out because they can't get anything better than a HEPA filter and still be code. So you have an opportunity here.
This is actually fortuitous in a weird way, right?
In a weird way, yeah. Right. Now, unfortunately, that may drive the cost of the HVAC system up, and we may have other side effects to that. But we'll work through all that stuff. That's what we do. Okay? Thanks, folks.
Is that it? Garrett, that's a record.
I was feeling like we were going more.
I just want to add, Garrett, I want to publicly thank you for helping us out this summer in assessing all of our classroom space. You were here multiple times. You walked this building with us and measured out every classroom. That is much appreciated because we needed that. And I'm happy to tell you we've had a great opening.
I talked to Mike Torrey the other day, and he told me just that, so I was really glad to hear that. And you're welcome. I was glad to support you guys in that process. I'm glad you opened as smoothly as you did.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you so much for coming out, being present. It's wonderful to see you all.
If I didn't have a mask on, I'd say it was smart.
Thank you all.
Okay, we'll see you soon.
All right, thanks, guys. Okay, we are now going to move on to the superintendent's report. Carl, turn it over to you.
Okay, so I thought I would just do a very brief review. I spent a lot of time on the goals for the year at our last meeting, but just to summarize, the board is being asked to consider approving my goals for the year, but of course my goals also involve the entire team, the administrative team, the staff members that will all be contributing, but and the board as well will be working with me on a lot of these. But the first one is a district-wide coherence plan. This was set into motion last year. James played a very important role in getting this started. It was paused due to the pandemic, but we're meeting later this month with our consultant, Jonathan Costa, and our group, and we will be starting that this fall, and it will continue. I'm very excited about that. The new principal actually made mention of it, and she's excited to get on board as well. Teaching and learning. Even though we are managing a crisis, we're doing well, we are settled in, and I do think the staff is ready to focus on teaching and learning and on the work on the next gen standards. Throughout the interview process, every candidate was asked about their leadership, their knowledge of the next gen standards, and once again, I look forward to partnering with Allison on this, but we will be working every month. Our consultants, also ELA consultants, have started with our teachers and they're working on that alignment, and it will continue throughout the year, and we will be ready for September 2021 to fully implement the next gen standards. The third goal is conducting a special education evaluation. I've already met with our consultant, Roberta Wiener. We have, I think, a good plan that will begin in October for that. She'll be looking at everything from procedures, IEP plans, 504 plans, or RTI, the referral process. She'll be visiting classes and programs and special services and interviewing staff members and administration as well as parents. And that will continue throughout the year. And we will have a formal presentation to the board at the end of the school year. The fourth goal we just covered, the district capital project. This will be ongoing. Just as we heard, there are decisions that need to be made. We do have a committee in place, and we will be meeting regularly. Michael Twardy, Sue Hutter, myself, and our new principal will also have weekly meetings, starting right after the bid process to have this plan ready to go. I do anticipate that this summer will be busy, but the planning for the summer of 2021 will happen those 4 or 5 months ahead of time to make sure we can maximize the time and get as much work as possible completed in the summer when the students return to school the following year. And finally, the fifth goal that I'm recommending to the board is to do work around human resources. We had a fantastic process. I just briefly described it earlier. I was pleased, very pleased at the number of people who applied to Garrison. We did a lot of recruiting, and the candidates were very, very thoughtful about researching our district, and we're enthusiastic about the work that is happening here. Work around academics, work around diversity, work around our anti-racism and equity task force that actually met earlier this week, and that was part of what attracted them to our district. Some of them applied nowhere else. They weren't looking, but Garrison was open. They wanted to be a part of what's happening here. So I think that's what gave us such a strong pool, and I want to continue that work. There is also some internal work, just procedurally, to become more efficient and have a standard process as we go forward. Because I've said this before, who we hire and then who we tenure are probably the two most important decisions we will all make together, and that'll impact not only the students that are here with us now, but students well into the future. So I think having a solid process and a consistent process will be important. I look forward to doing that work. So those are the goals that the board is being asked to approve later on. If all goes well, and I thank you all for your input, by the way, because they evolved over the past 2 or 3 months. And once they are approved, we will make sure they're public. They'll be posted on the website, and certainly I've already reviewed them with the entire faculty, and they are excited as well about these initiatives. They're certainly not things that I would be doing alone. Also, just a few things we had to postpone back to school night. It was in the calendar listed as, I believe, for this week. But right now we have on September 29th, which is a Tuesday evening, we'll do a virtual back to school night for all K through 5 parents. I did send out a Blackboard on that. And then for our middle school parents, that'll be on Thursday evening. And that will be all parents, even of course our parents who have selected iTutor. And our teachers, we needed a little more time to plan this virtually to make sure everything goes well. And the teachers needed a bit more time to settle in. They are doing a fantastic job. Sarah, I know you said a thank you to the staff earlier, but I will just repeat that. I'm so impressed with the entire staff here at Garrison. They are working extremely hard. The dedication is really something to see. I know parents have expressed that they would love to be in the school. Of course, we still need to put health and safety first. We're hoping sometime in the near future we can have parents in. We actually met with the PTA. We're planning some exciting things, but of course most of that will be virtual. And maybe in the spring, if we're fortunate, we can have people come back in and enjoy all that the Garrison School has to offer. So with that, I just want to close by saying I am extremely excited to start with Mrs. Mig. I will set up a transition plan. The board did it for me. So I will, it was a great process, I thought, in meeting the community. We had to get creative and do things virtually. But I will do the same certainly for Allison, and we will make sure with the staff as well as our parents that she is available to them, and that they get to know her, and that they feel connected to her, And I foresee that happening in the month of October and then continuing into November. So thank you for your support.
I have one follow-up question, if I may, regarding our students and families who are currently remote. Even the ones that are in, I know we asked for a 5-week commitment, I believe. Is there a plan for them to select to come back or go out as they need to? Let us know what they're thinking so that we can prepare.
Yes. And Sarah, thank you for bringing that up. I should have covered that. We will be sending out a form to all of the parents that have selected iTutor, asking them, if they would like to consider having their children return in person. And some have already expressed that they would, and others have expressed that they are settled into the model and would like to continue that. But we certainly respect the choice either way. But we do need to do some planning. So we will be sending out a form by the end of the week, just asking for people to consider what they would like to do. There is room here in the school. In some cases, on some particular grade levels, depending on how many students would potentially come back, we may have to make some adjustments. So it may take a couple of weeks. I spoke to Mr. Twardy today, and we're ready and prepared to do that. So the good news is, again, earlier I recognized that Garrett, our architect, really helped us. We have a maximum capacity of every room with the 6 feet social distance for every student and adult. And we have backup plans where, in some cases we could shift some rooms around. We can spread out a bit more if need be. So we would welcome the iTutor children, to come back in. And that I actually, saying that is wrong. They're Garrison children. They're learning through iTutor, of course. And we'd love to have them come back, or we would certainly love to continue to support them. The Garrison teachers, too, I should mention, are starting to send out some materials. iTutor doesn't offer materials. It's fully virtual, but we are starting to send out some materials for the students at home, and that will continue, whether it's iTutor teachers working with our children at home, or if it's eventually Garrison teachers teaching virtually. So yes, please look forward to that communication, and you let us know, and feel free to pick up the phone and call me if you'd like to have a conversation about it as well. We can talk further.
Great. Okay, how are my remote friends? I think they're good. Courtney and Matt, just jump in if you need anything, please.
I have do you have any questions there, ma'am? Okay. I just have a quick question, or maybe clarification. The goals you're setting forth here, which I totally support, they're things that you're working on as determined, for yourself and for us, that we're supporting you through these goals. But there's also a lot of other work that you have to achieve that isn't listed here, obviously, where we're working together on board goals, and they're a task force. These goals are not exclusive, right? That these are things that we're shaping and supporting in a formalized manner, but there's a host of other activities that are out there. So I want the public to know that they're not, these particular goals aren't exclusive to other tasks and responsibilities of the superintendent.
Yeah, well, thanks. Thank you, James. Yeah, that is true. There's a lot more happening.
This ain't all you're doing.
No, this, but these are the things, there's the day-to-day operations that they're managing the current situation that we're in. But we didn't, and again, with your input, we didn't see that as a goal. There's certain responsibilities that the superintendent has that you need to do to have the school running smoothly. But of course, these are things that we're aspiring to accomplish over the course of the year. They're all very exciting. So I think I would say these are improvement activities. Each one should result in moving the district forward.
And a clarification on the anti-racism, equity, and diversity task force. And that work, that task force was created by the board. Is that right, Sarah?
Yes.
Right. So that task force should be reporting back to us at some point.
Once they set goals, my understanding is then the task force, Carl jump in.
Yeah. And I would welcome even Jocelyn or Madeline to step in, but we met earlier this week, and we are getting close to setting goals. In fact, David Gelber also is a member of the task force. So we have a meeting set in October, it's the 6th maybe, 6th or the 8th. We are meeting in early October, and we are ready. We've done some training with the consultant. Now we are ready to establish goals. Once that happens, yes, all of us will present them here to the entire board of the community, and we're actually very excited. Please, Madeline or Jocelyn, if you want to add any comments about the work we're doing.
I just think it has been an amazing process and can't wait to share with the rest of the community and the staff. So once the goals are set, I think we can start sharing some of that information.
Yeah, I agree. It's been great.
Okay, great.
All right, guys, so now we're gonna move on, if everyone's good, to the approval of superintendent goals. I'm going to read the recommended action. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby approves the superintendent goals for the 2020-2021 school year as presented. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. Okay, I'm going to do a roll call vote, please. Unless there's any further comments, questions, I think we're good on
Actually,
this.
I just had a question. Have you ever written so many goals for yourself in previous positions? There's so many.
Well, typically you see 4 or 5.
I think they look great. I'm very happy with them.
Yeah, well, and
Thank you so much.
thank you, Jocelyn. No, and you know, we really, our board retreat really helped me with this. When we met over the summer, it became more clear what we needed to accomplish, and so that's where I started to actually draft these. And again, with your input, it's appreciated, and they're exciting. They're very exciting.
I would just make, I think this is an obvious, probably, observation, but one of your goals is special education, and our new hire as a principal has a deep background there, and we're going to have a special ed consultant who's coming in. So however we can tandem the onboarding of a new principal and that work with that consultant, so that's more fluid and cooperative and collaborative, that'd be great.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Matt, Courtney, anything? Okay. I hear silence. I saw a hand go, so I think we're good. I can barely see you guys. I'm going to go ahead to the roll call vote now. Jocelyn Apicello? James Hope?
Aye.
Madeline Julian? Courtney McCarthy? Matthew Spicer?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Courtney, your computer is.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, Court.
We'll now move on to the accepting the minutes. I'm going to read the recommended action. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby accept the minutes of the September 2nd, 2020 regular meeting. May I have a motion, please?
So moved.
Questions, comments, thoughts? Okay, I'm going to move to a roll call vote. Jocelyn Apicello? Aye. James Hope?
Aye.
Madeline Julian? Aye. Courtney McCarthy?
Court?
Aye.
Matthew Spicer?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Okay, we're going to move on to the financial reports.
Here.
So on here, we have 2 that were presented. We have the revenue status and appropriation status report. There's no action on this, but Sue, do you want to speak to?
Sure.
Thank you.
There's just a snapshot of what's happening right now in our budget. So the first one I have is the revenue status. Most of that is anticipated revenue from our taxes. That's the journal entry that I do. We don't have our tax revenue yet. We don't get fully paid until actually the spring when the county makes us whole. So there really isn't a lot of activity in the first few months
And with the appropriation status, again, just a snapshot of where we are right now. If you look at the last page, it shows you, in the fourth column over, what expenses we've actually paid for, which is only $424,000 of our $11 million budget. The rest of it is encumbered, so that's what I'm anticipating that we're going to spend, but not everything at this point is actually even encumbered. We're still waiting for certain information and stuff, so usually everything's encumbered probably by the end of October, and we're anticipating.
So when you say the last page, you mean?
The last page of the appropriation status report, it's page 8 of 8. If you look down at the bottom where it says the grand totals, the fourth column over.
Yeah.
So that's, those are,
The 724?
724 is what we actually spent so far.
Right.
Yeah.
So
in the past 3 months, or 2.5 months.
Right, and meaning that with the anticipated encumbered.
Is the
happening.
10 million to 206, that's money that we haven't spent yet, but it's been encumbered.
Right, you anticipated.
So that's salaries and tuition payments and supplies and materials and everything that we actually either pay for or planning to pay for.
Can I ask a question?
Sure.
I've been on for just a year, and so I looked back at it a year ago, like when we did this kind of thing for one of my first meetings, and I was just noticing that, for example, last year's budget status report is just so different. So, for example, this year's we are left with an anticipated available, $500,000. But last year we had 4.8 million available at the same
It's probably
time.
because we probably didn't have as much stuff encumbered at that time. And our expenses are actually higher. I mean, we talked about this at other meetings. I mean, our transportation expenses are higher, so
Right.
that is encumbered. We're paying for iTutor, so that's somewhat encumbered, and encumbered the whole year because I just explained to the finance committee earlier that we're kind of going to look at things on a quarterly basis to see how the expenses come in. It's kind of hard at really anticipating where things are going to be even next month or, for the whole year. So it's really, it's just a matter of what was encumbered at this time. And I really try to hard to encumber as much as we thought we were going to have that up to date. A lot of times we might wait until we confirm tuition amounts to put that in. I mean, as far as last year, I would have to see, what was not encumbered, but at that point in time, but
Yours just was so much more encumbered this year compared to the previous year.
There was really like a big push in my office to get that done. So especially in this year, we're trying to get a better picture of where we're going to be at. And so I'll be honest with you, I don't remember last year, like what, but.
Well, and just related with the revenue status, because I looked at last year. So the real property taxes.
That's a journal entry.
Right, so they're unearned in previous years and they're earned this year's revenue status report. What does that mean? Is there a difference? Does it matter? You know what I mean? There's the 2 columns for.
It's just I might not have done the journal entry last year.
So that's okay.
By the time, it was like might have been the September, I might not have done the journal entry.
Okay.
I made sure I did the journal entry to kind of give a better picture of where we're at. It's common to do the journal entry for anticipated tax revenue because we know we're going to get that no matter what. If people don't pay their taxes, then the county's making us whole.
And last year, there was a delay on the taxes due to the incorrect printing of the.
There was
So there was an issue with.
Why'd you have to remind me of that?
I don't want to bring it up again, but there was no taxes were not collected at the same time last year as they are this year.
That is true. The taxes last year were
We collected in
disaster.
October instead of September.
Honestly,
in the business office ourselves, we were switching financial software in October. So it was extremely crazy beginning of the school year last year. Between the taxes having to be resent out, I forgot all about. Thank you for reminding me. Yeah, it was an extremely difficult year. In the midst of all that, we were changing our financial software, so it did take time to get caught up, and then as soon as we got caught up, COVID happened. So
I have one question on the adjustments. So
I'm
from the
sorry,
budget to
I'm
the,
having a hard time hearing.
okay, I'll speak louder, sorry, it's
Okay.
a mess. On the budget to the adjusted budget, there's an adjustment of 124.
Yeah, but those are the prior year encumbrances that were rolled over. So
Thank you.
for instance, if we ordered some stuff in June and it hadn't come in yet, then we're rolling over those encumbrances. So that's what those are. It's not a budget adjustment, so to speak.
They don't represent any of our new costs, such as the
No,
recent transportation or iTutor or anything like
It's
that.
really strictly stuff that we ordered that wasn't paid for, didn't come in yet, and so those encumbrances were rolled over from the prior year.
Okay, thank you.
And you'll see that in the audit report, so that exact same number is there.
Okay, thank you.
So,
Do you have any questions at home?
so
Sorry.
I just have one question about the term available means available from fund balance or from
No.
appropriation?
Are you talking about the
In the
appropriation
it says
status?
that in the appropriation status report,
It basically just says that out of our budgeted amount, it's money not spent or encumbered. It doesn't mean,
I see.
yeah, it doesn't mean it's part of.
It hasn't been designated. per se.
Yeah.
Within the budget.
Yes.
Gotcha.
Not everything is encumbered at this point, and then other expenses come up
Gotcha.
during the
Okay,
year,
thanks.
so,
Available to be slotted in one thing or another.
My
Okay.
friends at home. Okay?
And then the budget transfer, I know it's a very large one.
Yes.
So I'm not going to explain every single line, just unless somebody has a specific question, which I may or may not be able to answer. Basically, this is one of the encumbrances that they do is the payroll encumbrance. When you do that, I mean, there's some lines you'll see for $1. I mean, if something's under 50 cents, you still have to kind of cover that budget line item. But just going through, a lot of these expenses in general are COVID related. Again, the transportation, the iTutor, all the PPE and extra materials and supplies that we're buying are covering these lines.
Is the iTutor under BOCES? Sorry.
iTutor is in the BOCES line.
But it's only a month or two that you are.
I did about 3 months,
Okay.
and I'm gonna relook at it. As I didn't get a first bill, and that's one of the reasons, is I wanna see what the bills look like as far as those big new expenses, the iTutor, the transportation. Before I can really adjust what we're planning to spend, I wanna see what these bills come in as, especially the transportation and both of them actually.
And to be clear, we're transferring out of tuition on here. The majority of this, 150,000, is coming out of the tuition line item. Is that because we had allowances for more tuition than we actually needed?
That's what I'm thinking at this point.
We know where students are going at this point.
Yeah, I mean, that is one of the bigger lines that I could take, so otherwise, it's just easier to do that than to try to take $1,000 from, this line, that line, everything.
Yeah.
So, we're still waiting on a couple of placements in special ed, so I have to reevaluate that as well.
Okay.
The outside contractors, there's so many line items for that, and it equals a fair amount of this.
Well, all the ones down at the bottom here, the ones between the 5510 or
Yeah.
55,
Yeah,
that's transportation.
Okay, great.
Okay, so, and, the 2250s, those codes are special ed codes, so those are our OTPT people, that are a little budgeted. And the 1620, for the most part, those are maintenance, so it's boiler maintenance, and we spent a little bit of extra money doing things this summer, just getting things ready for opening.
How do you feel? This is such a big budget transfer, especially compared to, I remember again, previous September. Is it?
It's the biggest budget transfer we started the year with, I can tell you that, yes. It's bigger than I anticipated, and so, yeah, it's something that I just feel like we have to keep an eye on a monthly basis. I believe you're gonna have budget transfers more this year than last. And it's just something that we're gonna have to monitor on a monthly basis. I mean, I do present business at every month, and don't be surprised if you get more budget transfers. I mean, the other thing is I was really conscious this year too, because of the situation, and to get all the encumbrances in and really do a deep dive, which is, you know, I would say in September, it's not normal to do that deep dive. You know, you're doing that more maybe mid-year to see where you're at budget-wise, but because of all these added expenses, I really wanted to get a clearer picture so I could present that information to the board, and wasn't going to be a surprise, say, in December or January.
I just have a question. Is there a reference place that you could maybe send us a list of what all the codes are? Because I know you know them, but
Oh, yeah.
it'd be very helpful to understand fully. I know I tried to look for one, but if you have one.
Yeah,
maybe
I believe there's one on the state end
Is
website.
there one? Okay, that's right.
It's a uniform school accounting codes, basically.
Yeah.
I mean, they're the same codes, the same, you know, those numbers, the first 6 numbers basically are the same in almost every school district. And those last, we have them all as 0, 0, 0s. In bigger school districts, you might see many different codes because they're broken down by school or.
Your budget status report has the codes in them too. You know, so
Yeah.
you could look at.
We go back and forth. I just have a list so I know what I'm looking at every time.
But they are, you can get it off the SED website, but I can definitely forward that
I
to
can
you.
look on a CD too.
Okay.
Thank you. Any questions, Courtney and Matt, on the budget transfer?
I got a thumbs up.
Okay.
She doesn't want to talk from the last time.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, now we're going to read the recommended action. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District does hereby approve budget transfer number 1 of the 2020-2021 school year. May I have a motion, please?
Second.
Do a roll call vote. Jocelyn Monticello? James Hill?
Aye.
Madeline Julian? Courtney McCarthy?
Aye.
Thank you. Matthew Spicer?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Thank you. Thank you, Sue. And we'll move on to personnel, the consent agenda. I'm going to read the recommended action. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District, upon the recommendation of Carl L. Albano, Superintendent, hereby approves the personnel consent agenda for items 9C through K as presented. Okay. May I have a motion, please? Thank you. All right. Cindy, Carl, do you want to speak to these, please?
Sure, yeah, I'll summarize some of the personnel resolutions that we have this evening. One, letter D is a special education teacher. We are required under law to make sure all students, whether they're in person or learning remotely, or even being homeschooled, are receiving their special education programs as well as the services. So this was necessary. We do have one of our Garrison teachers providing special education programs remotely, but the students who remained here in person also needed a teacher to fill that void. Kaylee Elizabeth Warren has been with us since August 31st. She's doing a great job, and she's working with our intermediate grades. So that is one recommendation. Also related, or somewhat related to this situation, our speech teacher had some additional remote speech services that she needed to provide. In past years, she did one of our special area classes, the Family and Consumer Science course. So we need one of our long-term subs to take that period. She's a certified teacher, Christina Antonucci, and she's done a great job. She, of course, transitioned with our speech teacher, Marissa Gargano, and that is why she's on there. But it is, notice it's just a part-time. 0.167 represents one course out of the 6 total that she will be teaching. And I thank Courtney McCarthy for referral here. We have a substitute nurse. Nurses are in high demand right now. Melissa DeFonce has done an amazing job, but if we ever needed a backup, we have a substitute nurse. Her name is Fiona Fortuna. She actually works with a local pediatrician, and she also has done some work in Haldane. She's an RN. She has great experience, and we're happy to have her. She actually visited today, and she is just getting familiar with our routines, and she is a backup just in case we need to call upon a nurse to step in for us. There's also advisors. This year looks different just about every way, but we want to give the children some extracurricular experiences. So Kathy Clark is here for 8th grade advisor. She's done that in past years. Both Jessica Van Becker and Melissa Harris are going to be co-advisors for the yearbook. Then the following one is a recommendation for coaching appointments. And this, I just want to be clear with the board. We are not 100% certain that we will have a competitive fall season. We'll know more next week for modified sports. So we have a girls soccer and boys soccer team. But in speaking with Patrick Beckley, we'd like the board to consider approving these coaches. And the backup plan, if we aren't allowed to compete, we would like to have intramural sports. We'd like to keep these coaches and have our own season, get the students out there, our student athletes, have them training, drills, learning skills. So we do have Patrick Beckley, who would do modified boys soccer. He's done that in the past. And Marissa Gargaro and Kevin Keegan would be co-coaches for girls modified soccer. So that's another recommendation that we'd like you to consider. And then lastly, our mentors. We do have 3 new teachers in the middle school. One already has a mentor, but I'm recommending Jackie Van Tassel and Lauren Johnson to serve as mentors for 2 of our new middle school teachers. Any questions?
The mentors, just for the board, are a requirement in the teacher's contract, and how that is done is laid out within the contract as well.
My only question is for the family and consumer sciences. They don't need to be certified to teach that. They just need to be a certified teacher. That's
correct, Justin. Yeah, it's the general certification. There's not a specific cert in that area.
Mr. Young has taught in the past as well as a speech teacher. A lot of people have stepped up in that one. And I will also, Carl, we do have many pages long, so I want to make sure we have a new payroll clerk as well joining us as part of this agenda.
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, I missed that.
Ms. Martz, who I believe has served already with Sue in your department, is now.
Yes, I'm absolutely thrilled that Pat is moving into this position, and a few people heard about it today because it was on the agenda, and I want to say that there's a lot of staff that's just a buzz that she's moving into that position. So, I'm thrilled for her and thrilled for the district.
Sue, how long has Pat been with us?
She's been here 8 years, and she's been such a wonderful addition already. And willing to help the next person that's taking over her two different positions with CSC and purchasing. So I think it'll be a good fit for our being in the payroll.
Thank you, Sue. Okay. Does anyone have any questions on this consent agenda as presented? Okay, then I will move to a roll call vote. Jocelyn Epicello?
Aye.
James Hope?
Aye.
Madeline Julian? Aye. Courtney McCarthy?
Aye.
Matthew Spicer?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Okay. Guys, give me just a second to get through. Okay. We are now on to new business. We have the approval of the final AS7 contracts for 2019-2020 services. I will read the recommended action. Be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby approves the final AS7 contracts for the 2019-2020 cooperative educational services with Putnam Northern Westchester BOCES. May I have a motion?
Is that last year?
So,
Second. James, question?
Sorry, it's last year.
It is, would you like Sue to explain
No,
more about the process?
no. Good, I guess.
Do I have any questions? Okay. Move to a roll call vote. Jocelyn Epicello? Aye. James Hope?
Aye.
Madeline Julian? Aye. Courtney McCarthy?
aye.
Matthew Spicer?
Aye.
I vote aye as well. Okay. Lost on that page, guys. Give me just a second.
Public comment.
I'm up to the public comment section. Now, because we are both in Zoom and in person, Dusty, what I'd like to do is I will read the policy on public comment, and then if you see them, just pull them up on the screen and I can read them out.
Sure.
So everyone at home, if you have a comment or question, now is your chance to enter it into the Q&A box, please, the Q&A box. The public comment is intended for members of the community to speak openly and voice concerns. In accordance with policy 3220 of the Garrison Union Free School District, any person wishing to speak shall comply with all provisions of this policy. Comments about specific school personnel or individual students is a violation of board policy. Concerns regarding students or personnel should be discussed privately with the superintendent or appropriate administrator. Comments will be limited. Actually, if it takes me more than 3 minutes to read your comment, I will let you know. The board will listen to comments but will not engage in dialogue, and follow-up will be provided afterwards through the necessary channels. Okay, anyone in the Q&A, in the chat?
I would just say as we're waiting, just like if it wasn't public and they would normally rise up and write their name and where they live, or what, I forget what we had to do exactly, but I think if there's anyone who ends up, I can't read that far. If you could just state their name so that.
Absolutely. Okay.
Nothing.
Thank you all for coming. I'm going to move on now to board member comment and other discussion. And I'm going to take Jocelyn's recommendation from the last time, and we're going to start in the middle. So we're starting with Madeline.
No comment.
Okay. Courtney?
To save everybody's ears, no comment.
You sound better now. So if
You
have
sound
something to
great.
say, you sound fine. Sorry.
You're coming through perfectly.
Okay. Matthew Spicer.
I just want to say how excited I am about having the principal come in and how absolutely thrilled we are all over the Allison's appointment. I think the district is truly fortunate to have her, and we're so excited about how excited she is. So thank you.
Thank you. All right, I'm up next, and I will just say that, yes, I'm thrilled to welcome Allison, and I'm incredibly grateful to District Wise for their process. And also want to thank everyone. We had teachers on the committee, we had parents, and thank you all for volunteering, and board members, thank you all for volunteering your time to this important process. I also just wanted to make a small note. School is back in session for students in the building, which means that the traffic out on 9D, the speed limit during school hours is 25. I was passed the other day in front of the school. So I would like to, just for the members of the public, I don't think there's many of you out there, but please spread the word to your neighbors, to your friends, to go slowly when school is in session. It's important. Okay, that's all I have. I'm going to move on to Jocelyn. All right, James.
Just to echo Matt's point, you know, welcome to our new principal. I'm glad she's joining this team that's forming, and look forward to a lot of work ahead. I think that on the sad note, we're approaching 200,000 dead due to COVID, and I think it's something to keep in mind. That there is ongoing grief and illness around us, and we are fortunate to live in this community where the prevalence remains low. It's our vigilance that allows prevalence to remain low, and I think it's really important for us to be mindful that other people don't have that opportunity or that privilege, and we're lucky that school is even open, let alone in session, and we are fortunate that we can provide online learning as well. And but it doesn't relieve us from the obligation of our commitments to our neighbors who don't enjoy such privileges. Other than that, I would recommend that, you know, I got passed on 9D the other day too. I was like shocked. It's not our neighbors is the problem, right? So perhaps we can send a note, the superintendent might send a note to our sheriff that it would be great to, during school hours, to have some presence. Or,
That's an excellent idea.
yeah. And also to, you know, to feel free to use our parking lot and all that. I don't know if you had a chance to meet the sheriff yet.
No, but I do have a call in to him because our staff has raised the same concern. So I thank you for bringing it up.
Oh, really?
So yeah, well, yes, and of course,
Wow.
we have, you know, our children, we have a crossing guard, and we have children and families crossing back and forth, but, so hopefully we can get some support from our sheriff, and, I expect to make contact with him soon, because I did leave him a message earlier this week.
I'm sure you see it, the teachers see it more, because there's those tents outside that they're having classes like right on 9D, you can see the road.
Yes.
We also, the state also, about 2 years ago, the board was successful at petitioning the state to reduce the, or to adjust the hours of reduced speed so that it encapsulates our high schoolers who are taking classes. So I think reduced speed, the school zone is from 6:30.
It's 6:30 in the morning to 6 p. to 6:30 at night.
So anyway. That's
Okay.
all.
Thank you, James. Executive session. Okay. No executive session this evening, so I'm not going to read that recommended action. I'm going to move on to adjournment.
I like that.
Recommended action, be it resolved that the Board of Education of the Garrison Union Free School District hereby adjourns the meeting of September 16, 2020 at 8:45 p.m., well before the 10 p.m. deadline. May I have a motion, please?
So,
Second. Jocelyn Costello. I don't have my list in front of me. So James Hope,
Aye.
Courtney McCarthy,
Aye.
Madeline Julian. Aye. Matthew Spicer.
Aye.
I vote aye as well. We're done. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
terrific.
you all.
And log out, right?
Yes, please log out, and Dusty, we will follow your instruction on how you want us to take care of these computers.
All right.